of their grandchildren will not see the completion of the complex. The city of Tula, according to every history books, it was the capital of the Toltecs. 3 pyramids have been reconstructed. Now, according to Toltecs, their origin was from east, from the Red Land on the east. Now, east from Mexico is the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. On the top of one of them, they have 8 stone columns, which they called Atlanteans. Every column shows the face of people from different continents and different races. Now, this was capital of Toltec civilization from the 8th century. How come they knew about different races from different continents 800 years before the white Europeans will sail from Europe to Central America and start communication? They are teaching us that only the 16th century the communication between the continents started. Well, they are teaching us wrong. The communication was there not thousands, but tens of thousands of years in the past. So we need to change our history books. Monte Albán in Mexico is the 2nd biggest ceremonial center on this country's soil. The builders flattened the top of the mountain. So from one end to another, the difference is just half of 1 inch. Half an inch. And then they built the city of pyramids. Some of them have been cleaned and reconstructed. Some of them they are still waiting better times and more money to be cleaned. This is the look of the most famous pyramid in Central America, the Pyramid of the Sun in the city of Teotihuacan, 150 years ago. Completely covered by soil, bushes, vegetation. The hills, like this, on the first side, there are thousands in Europe, everywhere. Well, it took 75 years and the 3 archaeological campaigns for American and Mexican archaeologists to completely clean it. This is its look in 1960. And this is how it looks like today. One of the most beautiful examples of the pyramid architecture. When you look from the bottom of the pyramid to the people who are climbing the top, they are getting so tiny. And it seems that the pyramid builders wanted to reach the sky with this structure. And it did, 74 meters, or about 225 feet in height. Interestingly enough, the Great Pyramid of Egypt is exactly 2 times higher. The base of this pyramid is square. The base of Great Pyramid of Egypt is square. The length of the sides of the base, 232 meters. In Egypt, the same thing, 232 meters. Now, we already learned that number pi, 3.14, is incorporated in the case of Great Pyramid of Egypt. And here we have square root of number pi. 3 big pyramids on Giza Plateau, 3 big pyramids in the city of Teotihuacan. Cheops, Khephren, Myceren, Sun, Moon, Quetzalcoatl. And their layout is exactly the same. Now they are telling us there was no communication between Africa and Central America 4,500 years ago. Of course it was. Here we can see the signature of the same architect. Enter. The pyramids on US soil. Well, they did not teach my son about them in Houston. We have not one, but 200 of pyramids here on US soil. Southwestern part of state of Illinois is the home for pyramids. This is the largest one. It's called Monk's Mound. Its surface is 11% larger than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Everything they tell us about this complex is wrong. Mark, the leading archaeologist, was telling me that this city was called Sun City. We don't know its real name. He's telling us that the pyramid complex was built by Mississippians. Never in history culture by that name existed. He's telling us that Indian tribes built those pyramids. Tribes did not have a social organization to build such huge structures. And they're telling us that these are mounds. Now, mound is something when you use dirt. But this is not the case. We have 4 different types of construction materials. We have sandstone blocks, we have pebbles and rocks and sand. And when they would complete the pyramid, they would cut squares of grass and soil, turn them upside down and cover those structures. In order to build this pyramid, they needed an equivalent of 224,000 trucks. 20-ton trucks, 50,000 pounds trucks. For one. And millions of tons for 200 of them. Indian tribes. All the pyramids are oriented to the cardinal points: east, west, north, and south. North, cosmic north, the location of the northern star. Builders who know the orientation of the cosmic north, they are not primitive tribes, they are advanced culture. All the pyramids, but one, the biggest one, that one had orientation to the magnetic north. Now, the difference between cosmic and magnetic is that cosmic is more or less fixed. Even though we do change northern stars every 6 or 12,000 years. But magnetic north moves every year. And last year it moved about 28 miles between Canada and Siberia and back. Builders who know the difference between cosmic north and magnetic north are not tribes, but advanced civilizations. I asked Mark if they did some digging inside, if they discovered the tunnels, if they found the underground passageways. He said, well, we did not do any archaeological digging recently. I said, why? He said, well, first of all, it's very hard to get the permit. And secondly, he said, it's very expensive. Very expensive for the only remaining superpower on the planet? 16 pyramids on the soil of ancient Greece, hundreds of years before the ancient Greek civilization. The pyramids of Gaius Cestius in the downtown Rome, 2020 years old, but much more important are 5 pyramidal complexes on Italian soil. This is one of them, called Monte Vecchia pyramids. 3 pyramids are still covered by soil and vegetation. What we can see, besides their colossal size, is the layout here, bottom left, which is exactly the same like the layout of pyramids on the Giza Plateau, 1, 2, 3, which is exactly the same like the layout of the pyramids in the city of Teotihuacan, 1, 2, 3, which is almost the same like those 3 stars in Orion belt. This is the look and the view of the Pyramid of the Moon. In city of Teotihuacan, 150 years ago, after 75 years of cleaning, this is what we have today. Every day, 20 to 50,000 tourists visit this site, and they leave about $5 billion to Mexican economy. Every year, 8 million tourists visit Egyptian pyramids, leaving $15.5 billion to Egyptian economy. So, the pyramids and the archaeological tourism has become the engine for the economies of those countries. And after this short introduction, the biggest and the oldest of all, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. We've just learned that the pyramids have nothing to do with the pharaohs and the tombs. The pyramids are constructions, architectures, geometry. Traveling and investigating these phenomena all around the world, I concluded that we have to have 7 elements fulfilled to call something a pyramid. The first one is geometry. You have to have geometry of the pyramids. You have to have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. You have to have triangular faces, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to have obvious corners. The second element is the orientation. For some reason, all Chinese pyramids are oriented to the north. The oldest Egyptian pyramids, north. Most Peruvian pyramids, north. Cahokia pyramids, north. The same thing here. This is north. The third element is the construction material. Obviously, artificial construction material. In Guatemala, they shaped volcanic stones. In Peru, they are making adobe bricks. In Egypt, limestone and granite. And here, as we will see, the pyramid is completely covered by artificially made concrete. The next element are the inner passageways. We will see we did find them with the georadar technology. The next element, the water, the rivers. 2 rivers here, plus a lot of underground water streams. The next element, underground tunnels and chambers. The next element, the sacred geometry. All 7 elements are found in the case of Bosnian pyramids. Now, let's see how it looks like from the air. The town of Isoko, the rivers, eastern triangular face, and north. Now, so far we thought that the best orientation to the north is the northern side of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The arrow from the true north is 0 degrees and 2 minutes. The State Institute for Geodesy from Bosnia measured, using their scientific instruments, the orientation of this northern side, and they concluded that the error from the true north is 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and only 12 seconds. This is the most precise orientation to the north of all pyramids on the planet. In the last 6 years, there is a completely new phenomenon in archaeological and the scientific world. For the first time, it was not the museums, departments of archaeology, universities, Ministry of Culture who's been running a project on such a huge scale. Completely covers the moon pyramid, and the top of the sun touches the top of the moon pyramid. In a symbolical way, they are telling us that the rule of the day and the sun is over, and the rule of the night and the moon starts. And that was the reason why we named them the pyramids of the sun and the moon. Now, we do have hundreds of pyramids by that name in Central and South America, but this is the first case where such obvious astronomical relationship is present. Now, the position, the latitude of Great Pyramid of Egypt, 29 degrees, and look at those 5 decimals, 97948. Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, 43 degrees, 0.97948. Identical 5 decimals. We have opened this project from day one for everyone. We said there would be no elite science here. There will be no selected information. And we said we are open for the mainstream scientists, for the conservative scientists, for the alternative scientists, as long as they respect 2 terms. First, non-destructional investigations. We don't want people to come, to break, to damage something, or to take and steal artifacts. And second, we said, whatever you come up with, share with us, so we can share with the world. The leading European geophysicists from Germany, from the company called LGA Bautechnik, the leader of the team was Dr. Andreas Hassenstab. They brought their georadar equipment that can penetrate the surface for about 55 feet. And we've checked several locations, the northern side of the Sun Pyramid. And they concluded, after they checked 10,000 square meters or 100,000 square feet, they discovered what they called 44 anomalies. In their terminology, anomaly means it's something that cannot be made by the natural forces. So they did discover the pyramid walls, the blocks one on top of each other, the inner passageways. This is an example of one of inner tunnels marked with those wooden sticks, about 18 feet below the surface. There is a passageway. Now this particular passageway is on the land that belongs to the private landlord. 7 years ago, before we came there, he was trying to sell his property, 10 acres plus house, for only $20,000. And nobody wanted to buy, because his property is on the pyramid. It's at 45 degrees. You can do nothing with that. You cannot plant anything, you cannot have your domestic animals. And then we came. And once he saw the German scientist discovering the underground tunnels that leads to the center of the biggest pyramid on the planet, he approached me. And he said, listen, I'd like to sell you 2 acres. Not even 10, 2 acres. For $500,000. Spoj. Well, I told him, first of all, we are not in the real estate business. And secondly, we don't have money for that. Then he was thinking, he said, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you start digging? And when you discovered something, then we will talk. In other words, we discover the entrance, then he will take over. And then he will start charging the entrance, and he will be deciding who can get in and who cannot. He will be selling stuff. I said, no. It doesn't go that way in science. Unless we have 100% control, we won't be doing anything. And even if it takes 5 years or 25 years, we need to make sure that it is fully controlled. Now, then we asked the experts in satellite screening to check the same area. This is the northern side of the Sun Pyramid. And they did. And they discovered on the satellite photos that those black lines do represent the inner tunnels. As we can see, they are straight, they even intersect at 90 degrees, and then they disappear. Why? Because they go deeper than what satellite can see. And then we asked the third team from the Institute for Physics, University of Belgrade, to double check the same sections like Germans. We did not tell them about the results of German scientists. So they applied very sophisticated geophysical methods. And when we received their written report, it completely matched what their German colleagues did. For example, this is the view of the Sun Pyramid from a little bit different angle. Here is the western triangular face. Here is the corner between west and north. In shadow is the northern side. Here is the corner between north and east. Here is the corner between west and south, 1/3 of the corner. And to the right is the causeway that leads to the top of the pyramid. According to the Serbian geophysicist, the first meter, about 3.5 feet, the green color, is grass and the soil. And then at depth of the 1 meter, the blue represents the continuous pavement. So they claim that this represents a terrace which is completely paved, 800 feet in length and 250 feet in width. At the place where the terrace meets the pyramid, the material changes. Thanks to the one of the landlord, which was away from the pyramid, when he was cleaning part of his land with a bulldozer to build a garage, he removed part of the terrace. And then we realized that the material for the pavement was a sandstone plates, about 7 inches thick, with a smooth surface. And then in order to double check, we hired a company from Sarajevo that did a core drilling for us. They were drilling every 60 feet, and every time we hit 3.5 foot in depth, we would hit this pavement. This is a real nice three-dimensional topographic map of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. As we can see, the slope is the same from bottom to the top, from bottom to the top. This is the causeway, and this is the plateau on the top. It's flat, but its top is missing. Every original pyramid in China, Egypt, Mexico, Bosnia would have the pyramidion, which is the shape of the pyramid on the top, but it was built from better material, either granite, gold-plated granite, or gold. And today, all those pyramidions are missing. They were intentionally removed from the original pyramids. When you remove one important part, then the rest of it cannot work properly. We'll talk about it later. And then we applied satellite thermal analysis. What we did, we screened the valley during the daytime and during the nighttime. We compared the temperatures. So we wanted to see the speed of a heat loss. If it is a natural hill, they are very compact and the heat loss is very slow. If it is artificial structure, due to existence of passageways and chambers, the heat loss is much quicker. This analysis has shown that the biggest heat loss is in the case of the pyramids of the Sun and the Moon and the Dragon and the Love. And then we asked our good friend Dr. Harry Oldfield from UK to bring his so-called PIP camera that can film what he called bioenergy fields. So he came to Bosnia, and first he filmed one of the natural hills. It's a pointy hill. Those bioenergy fields that are not visible to the naked human eye are horizontal. Horizontal, all of them. And then one Bosnian village. Again, those fields are horizontal. The green, the red, brown, green, the blue, the red, the green. And then we filmed the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Perfect geometry. And those fields are vertical. Why is that? Well, for the first time, you will be able to see this technology in use in a case of the pyramids. This technology can be used also in Egypt or Mexico or China, but those scientists do not let them to use the technology because they are saying, they are archaeologists, well, we know these are tombs. We don't need, your sophisticated technology. The Sun Pyramid, bioenergy fields. Look at inside the pyramid, the red color. There's the energy that's accumulating. Look, we have more and more energy. Look, it's all red. And this energy is getting released through the top of the pyramid and pushing those horizontal fields, and they are becoming vertical. Now this circle might be interesting for your type of work that you're doing, but this time just disregard it. It's not part of today's lecture. It seems like it's coming to the top of the pyramid, to the gas station, and when it's filled, it's going back. Now, a lot of geologists are saying from the day one, oh, there are no pyramids in Bosnia, it's all naturally made. They were a result of the tectonic movements. So we took a geological map that shows the tectonic movement. There's the blue arrow, tectonic movement, and the yellow is the orientation of the sides of the pyramids. Obviously, the direction of the blue and yellow is different. Još jedno. Dr. Šimatović from Croatia did research on geometry of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, and he concluded that the angles to the base are rounded numbers, 35 degrees and 45 degrees. And not only that, in order to calculate the length of the sides at the base, we need to apply the square root of number 2. As you know, the result is irrational number, 1.41421. In order to determine the diagonal length, we need to apply square root of number 3. Again, 1.71, irrational number, does not end. As we could see in the case of Great Pyramid of Egypt, we had number pi, 3.141592653589. There are billions of digits. It never ends. In the case of Mexican pyramids, square root of number pi, irrational number. By applying the irrational numbers to the pyramids, the message was very obvious. For the ancients, irrational numbers were alive, and the pyramids were alive as well. We asked University of Sarajevo to come and check if there are any radioactivity in the Valley of the Pyramids. They did some checking, concluded that the values are 10 times lower than the minimum allowed values. And then we asked the leading Russian geophysicists, Dr. Kavroshkin and Dr. Tsiplakov, to come and check for the artificiality. I met them 5 years ago in Cairo. At that time, they were investigating Egyptian pyramids with their seismic equipment. A small pieces, small instruments. And since Egyptian government, Egyptian archaeologists did not want to work with them, they were doing the work illegally. So what they would do, of course, they would pay the guards at the pyramids, so they would place their instruments. No, the guards were not looking. So what they concluded was that when they hit the pyramids, they are getting certain vibrations. When you compare those values with the values in the case of natural hills, they were different because the natural hills are very compact. So armed with those results, they came to Bosnia, spent 2 seasons with us. And they were checking Bosnian pyramids. After they processed the information, they concluded that the values in the case of Bosnian pyramids completely match Egyptian pyramids. In other words, they are